everybody, welcome back for another video. Pepper spray in these small containers requires some finesse. You got to be able to aim it quickly, aim it properly, get it in the eyes, and be able to sort of delicately handle a situation that may require an extra 30 seconds or another minute before the person's actually incapacitated to a degree that you can actually do something. I like to carry one of these because it's small. I know that it will work, but you also have to have some verbal skills. You also have to have some hand-to-hand skills in order to buy yourself some time, in order to know when to pull it and use it properly. You also then, after you've used it, have to be able to defend yourself long enough for you to get away, and hopefully the person will become incapacitated at some point, and it'll become easier and easier and easier for you to escape and get away. So those are the parameters when you use these small pepper sprays. But I'm always fascinated by these large volume pepper sprays, and that's what we're going to talk about today because I think they offer a lot. They're bigger, yes, but they offer some advantages. Let's talk about that in more detail. So this is the JPX, and there's a number of different varieties of it. It's shaped like a firearm. To me, that is more intuitive for pointing and aiming than a pepper spray that's cylindrical in your hand. So that's a plus. The other thing is this type of device puts out up to 590 FPS of liquid in a cone for about 20-25 feet, and almost ensures that you're going to hit your target. You're going to envelop the whole face. The upper body can even be hit depending on how close or how far away you are. This really puts out a lot of pressure. And to me, this is pepper spray on steroids. If I was going to go with pepper spray as my main option and I wanted to definitively carry this, if I was involved in some job where I needed to carry something less lethal on my hip and it couldn't be a firearm, I think something like this would be great for that type of purpose. I think for day-to-day, it's not as practical for being out and about. You'd have to carry this in a holster on body. You then encounter a lot of the same issues that you do with your CO2 powered air guns. But this has the ability to completely stay non-lethal if you are concerned about that. Although I think people can argue that within 5 or 10 feet, the cone itself is hitting at such a force that it could be deadly if it was hit in the face. But I don't completely believe that that would be the case, but I do believe that any liquid at a high velocity that gets in the eyes, the nose, the mouth can cause a lot of severe damage. But this would incapacitate someone at a greater distance than your typical pepper spray, which I believe is about 6 feet. So if you can routinely hit someone from 20 feet with this, and you can ensure that you're going to hit your target because of the cone and the size of the cone, that's a real big advantage. I think this pepper spray on steroids, this is something that I find highly attractive. Now, there are a number of different models of this, and I'll show you those. Now, the one I was just showing you had two ports that will fire the pepper spray, and those were horizontal to each other. And I think my only one criticism of that design is that it would be a lot more compact if they made them vertical versus horizontal. That's the only criticism I would have of that model. As you can see in the upper left corner there, if you could take those and rotate that a little bit, it'll be a little bit flatter. You don't have the issue with using a mag. You don't have that kind of reason to have width. And everybody knows that the more compact and the less width you can have, the better it'll be to carry, and that would be an advantage. But they have different versions. They have the single shooters, the double shooters, and the 4-shooter, and JPX6 there with 4. These are a really interesting design. This is something that I think is fascinating. They're not cheap. So when you consider the choice of choosing a handheld pepper spray that costs you $10 versus carrying something like this, you really have to weigh whether this is giving you that extra added value. It is certainly providing extra function from longer distance, but are you dedicated enough that you need something like this for your purposes, for your general day-to-day? or are you more comfortable with something else? That's always the part of the decision-making process. But this is something that I've also had on my mind for a while, and I like the concept behind this, and I just wanted to talk about it here. Now, there is another option that I really love, and I want to talk to you about that now. And it is quite different than this design. It's quite different than your regular pepper spray. It's sort of a hybrid between a PepperBall and a pepper spray, and I really think it's interesting. And for the amount of size, it could be the better option, but I'm just presenting both of these for you to decide. Now, the PepperBall Blast is something that is extremely interesting. It doesn't have the distance of the JPX. It doesn't have that 20-foot distance, although they do claim that it has a little more distance than your typical pepper spray. I'm not exactly sure. This is an aerosolized powder. It is exactly the same thing from your Live-X pepper balls. It's just 3 pepper balls equivalent of the powder in a cartridge that is driven by a nitrogen cartridge that fully expels when you press the button and you fire. So it gives you this burst of a cloud, and it's essentially 3 pepper balls worth, as if you were using a split shot, for example, on your PepperBall TCP. It gives you the equivalent of 3 of those shots in terms of a cloud. That's a lot of powder. I personally have videos on here where I have opened up these pepper balls, and the amount of powder is really large, and it makes quite a cloud as long as it gets dispersed. And this device, I think, I like it because it overcomes the greatest barrier to using a pepper ball, which is you got to have an impact on a hard surface, you got to have enough velocity, and you got to bust it in order to get that aerosol dispersed properly, and you may have to hit the right target when you're shooting. The advantage of this is even better than your average pepper spray. Maybe similar to a pepper gel, but even a pepper gel, you still have to target it. You have to aim with that cartridge, and it's not as intuitive as a firearm-shaped launcher. But with this, you don't have to aim. You just have to point and fire. The only thing you have to do is make sure that you got the cartridge pointed in the right direction and not pointed toward you. As long as you're able to make that correctly, you can pull something like this literally out of your pocket and fire. It's going to project this aerosol right in front of you and whoever's there attacking you within 6 feet, 8 feet, maybe even 10 feet. It's going to really create a barrier. You just have to be sure that you have a way to go out the other direction. You're not going to have to go through that barrier. You'd have to be wise about when you choose to use it or when you don't. But I really like this a lot. It's something that has caught my eye for a long time. They're not cheap, but I think that they're probably priced affordably enough that you could have one of these in different places. You can buy 5 of them. You can have them in different places. It has a nitrogen cartridge that works cold weather, hot weather, and so I really like the PepperBall Blast. So to me, if you're going for something a little more affordable and you're not really all in on it like the JPX, and I don't see many people with a JPX personally on Facebook pages and YouTube. I think that that's definitely a barrier there. Maybe law enforcement, maybe corrections officers, maybe security guards. But for personal protection, I think it could serve you well. But a PepperBall Blast is another alternative. So those are 2 examples that I presented to you in this video. Let me know which one you like the best. Tell me what you think the pros and cons might be. Is the PepperBall Blast worth it? Does it really overcome the disadvantage of a $10 pepper spray? So you've got a range. You've got a pepper spray at $10, you've got a PepperBall Blast, and you got a JPX. Definitely going toward more steroid-like pepper spray with those other options, or do we just stick with our traditional pocket pepper spray? Let me know. I really am interested to know what you think. And everybody just be safe, take care of yourself and your family, and we'll see you in the next one.